notch holes on my cinch.
Of course he is.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is tighten this in segments. So I'm going to get it tightened up right now. It's definitely snug, and that's why he keeps looking at me and kind of thinking he maybe wants to bite me to get even with this. But I'm going to do it in segments because I want to tighten up that if he bucks, we're not going to have a huge issue. But I also don't want to terrify him.
Yeah.
And make him feel like he can't breathe and move and everything. So it's a really fine line that I'm going to try to walk, just so it doesn't kind of blow his mind. And I've had really good luck with doing that because it usually doesn't upset him too much, but you know, you don't leave them in a position they can really get in too much trouble either. And we'll do on this side just a couple times because it's the side he's more comfortable on.
Okay.
A couple circles, and then he kind of offered me a chance to square up there, so I'm going to take him up on it. You just have to be really careful when you switch eyes when they're saddled, because if they buck, it's going to be straightforward, and that's the time that you're directly in front of them. So I do want to get a lot more movement out of him. I'd like to get actually trotting if I can. Because I want him to really acknowledge that he's, you know, kind of cinched up. And sometimes they do great on the slower gaits, and it's when they actually step their feet out and really feel that cinch is in there that they become so much less okay with it. Really important thing too, we're doing a lot of confidence building right now. So even if he only trotted 2 steps, that was a good boy, you know, he tried. And even if he breaks down to a walk, well, that's just another chance for me to come in here and remind him of this feat, which is go ahead and step up to a trot. It's really important, especially for him where he's a little grouchy and a little irritable about things. He's kind of got some old man syndrome going on. It's going to be really important that you never nag this horse. And if I was to stay in there and keep telling him to stay at a trot, that'd be nagging. See if I can offer him a chance to switch eyes. We'll trot on this side. The reason I chose to not trot on this side first is just because he is more comfortable, so I figured if he was going to try to kick on this side, it would have been this side. Or try to kick at all, it would have been on this side. Yeah. That's some good stuff going on. And if we had better footing, since I'm a little more convinced that he's probably not going to take off bucking and squealing and everything, I probably would at this point turn him out and have him canter a time or two.
Yeah.
But I don't want to set him up for failure and let him slip. So I'm not going to turn him off the lead rope at all this time. I'm going to keep him somewhere I can kind of help and catch him, and he doesn't, you know, gain a lot of speed or go very quickly or anything, which is fine. You don't have to do everything on the very first saddling. So I'll ask him to quit. I'm going to tighten that cinch up a little bit more and do some more just general groundwork and moving out. I've had a lot of really good luck tightening the cinch in segments. I think that it really helps build their confidence and make them believe that it's going to be okay. Because that's a scary thing. I mean, you know they're claustrophobic anyway, and you just put a cinch on them and be like, okay, now carry on with life, you know, as tight as you can get it. I think that really bothers a lot of horses, and I think it really starts them off on a bad hoof.
Yeah. And then I just noticed there's a cow over there. So,
oh, that's fine.
Just, you know,
yeah,
thought I would give you a considering what he did this morning. So
yeah, that's good to know. I'll just make myself scarier than a cow if he really tries to pull me. See, like, right in there. And it's not, I'm not punishing him for gawking at that cow, because that's not a big deal to me, but what is a problem for him is when he's gawking off and I gave him a cue, you know, there was a warning he missed, and now he's already in trouble because, you know, he didn't catch it because he was so busy and preoccupied and everything. There's never really punishment. There's just kind of like, well, okay, but you missed it, you know? There's just missing a cue with the horse. And I think, kind of like with a child or, you know, anything, you almost just don't pay attention to what's not going right, you know? And don't acknowledge that and don't give it any attention. And it, you know, you capitalize on all the good things, like the fact that he's not bucking and the fact that he's yielding to this flag so much better than he was, you know, even 30 minutes ago. Capitalize on all this good and you get along really well. Power of positive outlook. Kind of the same thing. I mean, like, yeah, he's been grouchy this whole time, but I've never made a fuss out of it. And he's going to try to do the same thing, and we'll see if he can stick with me. I'll give him a little bit more of a chance. There, that was a lot better. And he might feel good about that and lick and chew, and he might not. But he's gaining, you know. He's definitely acknowledging me a lot more. He's definitely, even with the distraction of that cow over there, he's putting more effort into what's going on directly here. So now, what I'm going to do is just start shaking the stirrups and letting the saddle make some noise. And there's going to be two things I do with this. One is going to be this saddle, like this stirrup thing, means for him to move his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is going to be, it means nothing and you don't have to do it. Okay, so now I'm going to use it to add energy. And the benefit of doing that sort of thing, you kind of get them, I don't know, you give them a warning that something's going to be that low on their body and it's going to mean something or not mean something, and they're going to be responsible for figuring it out. Just try to keep his experience predictable for him. That's how you're going to build some confidence. Okay, so now I'm going to quit it meaning something. See, and all he has to do is stand there and tolerate it. Break. And I'm going to go back and it's going to mean something. Really good. So I let him walk off and leave it and it quit. So he's learning, you know, there's two different things. And it's not, you know, he's not a master of this right now, but he has an idea. Mm-hmm. And it's also giving me an idea of what he's going to be like when my legs are wrapped around him. That sounded really dirty. Okay. I'm going to step on and off of him a couple times now. A lot of times, he hasn't been a super sensitive horse so far with like little things. A lot of times, your toes pushing into their rib cage can be something. But with him, that's not going to be the issue. With him, the issue is going to be seeing me on this side and then seeing me on this side. This switching of the eyes. When you do this, when you're stepping halfway over them, you want to make sure that even though you're using this stirrup for balance, you're not actually pressing weight into it.
Gotcha.
Like all my weight right now is balanced over my hips, and that's going to keep my saddle from tweaking on his withers and making this uncomfortable. I want to pet him all over. I want to play with this stirrup. I want him to be a part of this. Normally I wouldn't let them, like how he had his head reached all the way around, I normally wouldn't allow that. But I don't think that's going to be his issue. I think the issue is going to be more when he starts moving his feet. And actually, the problem with that, I think, is going to be more getting him to move his feet. 'Cause he's just, I mean, he's just low key, you know. He's plumb fine just standing here and dealing with stuff. But once he gets those feet moving and sees that I'm going to stay up there with him, that could be potentially more of the issue. He's not squared up, so I want to try to get him squared up so I don't pull him off balance. Better, but now we're close to the fence. Hey. No, don't lean into me, just follow. There you go. Still not great, but he'll be able to hold me. And while I'm in here, I can tip this lead rope up and see if I can get him to disengage that hind end a little bit. There. And I'd rather not be this close to the fence, but it's where we are and I'm not going to make a fuss about it now. Good job. Yeah, good job. He's really good about it, but a lot of colts, you want to spend a lot of time petting their butt. Because a lot of them aren't as gentle as him. That was a really good deal. He got lost, but he came right back. You know, he thought about leaving, and then he was like, well, that was kind of scary, but I'm going to wait for this.
Yeah.
So those are all really good deals when you can get that kind of response. And I like setting up situations where they do get scared, because then I know what I'm getting into, and